All right, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gamers of all ages, back to the channel for some Star Wars Unlimited, and today we have a special treat for you. If you watched the previous video on the channel, you got to watch the live top 8 draft from the Dallas Planetary Qualifier here for set 5. We got to look over the shoulder of Mark while he drafted his packs in the top 8, and Ian and I had all kinds of commentary and some things to say. But the cool thing is that Mark reached out in the comments of the videos and was like, "Hey, we should talk about this." Like, yes, let's talk about this. So, Mark, welcome to the channel. I'm looking forward to getting your perspective on this draft.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to giving my perspective on this draft. I went into this event with a lot of practice and research into the limited format specifically for this set. And I was a little bit surprised that other people weren't as high, specifically on the leader I picked. So I'm excited to dive a little bit more into it.
Okay, so a little bit of prep. Let's talk about your sealed day before we get into this, because we didn't get you on stream for sealed, but you were the #1 seed in the field, as I recall, coming into the draft, and you played Kit Fisto Blue all day, correct?
That's correct. I played Kit Fisto Blue all day. Managed to get #1 seed out of the Swiss rounds, the 7. I went 6-1. Was just on the bubble where I didn't feel like I should intentionally draw the last round, so played it out and won that in 2 games. And I think there was one other 6-1 player, and I had better tiebreakers. So, yeah, I was surprised that I didn't play against a single other Kit Fisto at all, or really see it all that much. So, underrated? Who knows?
There were some in the field. One of the gentlemen that we followed at the very top of the stream, I had 2 local Houston guys come in and build their decks on camera. They opened their packs and built their decks on camera for us. And one of those is our local TO here at my store that's 20 minutes from the house. And he ended up building Kit Fisto Blue. Now, I suspect that he had a different card. Well, of course, he had a different card pool than you did. But I'm curious, did you have any cards in your card pool that were standouts? Like power rares, maybe a power legendary, something like was it mostly the uncommons that made that deck really successful for you, or what?
So honestly, I'm a little bit surprised at how well I did even. Even going in rating Kit Fisto highly. There was only 1 rare in my entire pool that I was playing in the deck, and that was Yaddle.
That's a good pull, at least.
Yaddle is a really good card. I think on a tier list, I'd put her at A solidly. Yeah. And she is very, very good in a Kit Fisto deck. The optimal turn 1 play, I think, for Kit Fisto Blue. Just being able to trigger his leader side immediately. She has enough health that she'll stick around all the time. She's probably the optimal ground unit. There's a lot of good space units that you want to play with Kit Fisto.
Yes.
Which I think is one of the reasons why he operates as a pretty good leader into the field. But other than that, I only was running 8 Jedi in the list out of 30. 2 of those, 1 was Mace Windu and 1 was Plo Koon. So Mace Windu, really good card. Plo Koon is fine.
Yeah.
In a deck like that, but they almost don't count as like Jedi, so to speak, when I'm counting for Kit Fisto, because they come out so late in the game.
Exactly, they come out so late.
They come out so late. So I think the other Jedi in my list, I had 1 Padawan Starfighter, the blue one, that gets +1/+1 if you have a Force unit or Force upgrade. Yaddle, of course. Those were my only 2 drop Jedi. And then I had 1 Jedi Knight and 1 Jocasta Nu on 3. And then on 4, I had a Ki-Adi-Mundi, very good card, and an Itinerant Warrior, also a very good card.
Yeah.
But that's it for Jedi.
Okay.
I had 2 on 2, 2 on 3, 2 on 4. So somehow it worked. I think you really don't need a plethora of Jedi to make Kit Fisto work. A lot of people look at his leader side and they think he's never going to be, a 4/6 or a 5/6. If he is, you're going to win the game anyway. And that's true. But if you have him even as a 2/6, right? Most people say 3/6, that's where you're happy.
3/6
even
is
as
the
a
happy
2/6,
spot, but 2's not bad.
3/6 is a great spot. Yeah, as a 2/6, he picks off a Secretive Sage, he picks off Gungan Warrior, he picks off Shin Hati after she's not hidden anymore. He puts in a lot of work with that Saboteur keyword. He sneaks past Chirrut to push in damage. It does a lot of work, and your opponent is kind of forced to get rid of him in some respects, just because he's always representing that damage on base. And with his 6 health, they're wasting a couple of attacks into him. Now, if you don't have any other Jedi and he's a 1/6, you feel pretty bad. That's what you try to avoid with the deck, if at all possible. So
I was going to ask you about the Saboteur keyword, because I forgot that he was a Sab.
A lot of people forgot all day.
Was it a common problem for you? Do people forget, oh, he's a Saboteur? Was it like
a lot of people forgot it?
Yeah.
I think even in my quarterfinal match, the judge almost leaned in and said that I couldn't attack past a Sentinel. And then had to step back because he was like, oh, I forgot Kid Fisto has Saboteur. So that happened, I mean, maybe 3 or 4 times all day where they said, this is Sentinel, and I said, this is Saboteur. Or I say, attack and kill Secretive Sage or Gunnigan Warrior or something, and they say, kill it, it has a shield. And I say, this has Saboteur.
It's interesting because Ian and I talked many times doing commentary throughout the event about cards like Cheer It, right? The strength of Sentinels in this format. There aren't many Saboteurs. In fact, I think Kit and his Aether Sprite might be the only 2 in the entire set. I'd have to go
I don't remember if any have it natively besides Kit Fisto and Kit Fisto's Aether Sprite.
Yeah.
Ascension Cable gives Saboteur.
Yes, and that was an impactful card we saw a couple of times too.
That is an impactful card. It's kind of redundant in a Kit Fisto list because you already have Kit Fisto.
Yes.
But yeah, I think of the actual units themselves, there's not that. Maybe there's 1 or 2 others that I'm forgetting, but they're just generally not. I haven't seen them played.
Okay. So
if there are some.
So as you win it, now I want to ask one last question before we start talking about this draft. You talked about the prep you did. Tell me about how you prepare or how you prepared to go into a limited event. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Everybody, I think, takes this a little differently. I want to hear your thoughts.
Oh, for sure. So I did a number of things. The number one thing that I mainly did was use Force Table. This is going to sound like a plug, but it was really helpful. They have a Patreon where if you sign up for it, you can do simulated both sealed and draft events. You just open random packs, you can build a deck. It makes it really easy to build a deck because it automatically separates things out by aspect. You know,
cheating.
Aggression.
That's cheating.
Aggression. It just saves a little bit of time on the sorting, but it really helps you assess the overall card quality in a pool by saying, all right, you know, I've got great aggression, villainy stuff, but I don't have any villainy leaders or something like that. So it helps assess that way. I did 1 or 2 of those a day at minimum. And then my buddy Ben, who was also in the top 8, I would send him all of the packs that I opened, and I would send him on Discord with a spoiler message so he doesn't see it immediately, the deck that I built out of that. And then we would talk about the decks that we built and that kind of thing. I built more decks than he did. He kind of slacked on it, but he did well. So
I love the notion of this. One of the local players here in Houston found a Discord bot that did something very similar. You would send this bot a command, and it would randomly generate. It would randomly generate a card pool out of 6 virtual packs, and send you both a screenshot of the cards that you pulled and a JSON that you could then go upload into like SWODB or something. And it was like, here's your card list. Everything's a sideboard card, and then you would build. Could build
put
a
it
deck
in the
from
main
there.
deck.
And what was happening? We had a channel for it in one of our local Discords where. Somebody would generate a card pool, and it would start this conversation. Several of us would download the thing and go build decks. And what was fun was, just like you say, to see how everybody's approach to seeing the same basically 100 card pool was a little different. Somebody would see, OB red, and somebody would see Talzin green, and it was just whatever. And it was a lot of fun to look at it that way.
It really is a lot of fun. One of the main things that I think separates a limited environment from a constructed one like this is obviously that you have to build the deck with constraints. You can't just go online and say, this is what's performing best. Let me take that list and practice with it. You really have to be able to practice with all of the leaders that are playable, at least in a limited environment, and really get a feel for what each deck wants to do. And what cards help that leader do what it wants.
Okay.
So the other good thing about Force Table is that after you build your deck, you get to play 3 matches against AIs. Or rather, you get to play until you have 2 losses.
Right.
Now, the AIs, not that great. What the devs have done to kind of balance it is that after you've won a match, the next match, your opponent starts with 4 more base health. So it's a little bit harder. That kind of handicap makes it so that, it kind of offsets the difficulty. And then after you win that one, when you're going into the next one, if you've won 2 matches, their base starts with 8 more health. So again, a little bit more of a handicap. The AI still isn't all that great. It'll still just play curious.
Yeah.
It'll still just play a curious block for 1 when it has free resources and is about to take initiative.
Yeah.
But it's better than nothing.
I agree.
And it's really quick. And it's pretty easy. So that was one thing that I did to prepare. The other thing is we made a tier list of literally every card in the set.
Yes.
We did a tier list of all the leaders. We did a tier list of all the rares and legendaries that you can open. And then we did a tier list of all the blue cards, all the red, all the green, all the yellow, and then all of the neutrals.
All neutrals,
just villainy, heroism, and aspectless cards.
Okay.
That really helped, in my opinion, solidifying just really how cards have performed in general. I mean, to summarize, all of the 2-drop Force units you play.
Pretty much. In this set, I don't think you have a choice. You got to have something.
In this set, yeah, you don't have a choice. The only thing is Snoke doesn't necessarily operate on a Force basis.
True.
And a lot of the cards that are good for him, you want to run Exegol Patroller or Vinay, stuff like that.
Yeah.
You want to be running all of the low-cost villainy cards that you can just start putting experience on. Kit Fisto, a lot of Jedi have Force, but the space ones don't. And that is an area where if you have a lot of those cards, Kit Fisto is great.
Yeah.
And in fact, the 3 leaders that I came into the day hoping to pull were Mother Talzin, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Kit Fisto.
Okay.
And I thought those 3 were, in my testing at least, the best of the bunch. Snoke was a little bit behind, then Talzin and Cal, or not Talzin, Third Sister and Cal Kestis, and then Ahsoka I also thought was playable. Everything else I didn't want to run.
Yeah, I'm with you.
People messed around with Kylo lists. I just don't think it's great. People messed around with Kanan
tough
lists.
and limited. Yeah.
It's really tough. So, yeah, I just thought Kit always performed well. Again, a lot of AI testing, but even so, it did perform well in the day.
So that was some sealed prep. Did you do any draft specific prep? Did you do some drafting at your local store or anything like that in advance of all of this?
So I did. I didn't do any in-person drafts. The Force Table also has a draft environment that you can do.
There you
Again, it's against AIs and all that, and sometimes you get absolutely monster pools just because they don't know what to draft. But a lot of it is just practicing the feel for a SWU draft, because it's a lot different from a Magic draft, which I've done many, many times.
Yeah.
Because with SWU, you have to know what leaders that you can actually play for and what leaders are on either side of you and at the table in general. So it inherently is very, very, very limiting for the kind of deck that you can build. And also in SWU, you're only picking 42 cards and you got to play 30.
Yeah. You have a very, very narrow margin there.
You have very, very narrow margins. A lot of the times, even when it feels like you're drafting really, really well and you have an amazing deck, you've only got 28 playables, and you got to throw in stuff to just resource or maybe play off of aspect, or even off of double aspect.
Yeah.
Just because the trash that you get at the end, you can't play.
You can't control.
So and it wastes picks.
Yeah.
So you have to be very disciplined. I heard people saying that you should hate draft the best card in the pack, even if you can't play it with your leaders. I disagree with that.
I kind of do as well.
I think there is a time and place. It depends on the card. There's a time and a place for it. I think that is a time when the next best card in the pack that you would be playing is just not good at all. I had, I think, 1 pick like that in the draft, and even then it wasn't that big of a hate pick.
Yeah.
It was just, whatever. Yeah. It was the card I least wanted to play against.
There you go.
Yeah. And so it's really understanding just how draft works specifically for the game itself as a kind of universal concept. And then the prep for the set itself is, in a limited environment, all the cards are going to be performing roughly the same
Yeah.
between sealed and draft. It's just, you really have to know the commons and uncommons a lot better because you're going to be seeing a lot less rares and legendaries in
Oh yeah,
draft.
big time.
And the ones that you do see probably aren't going to be good.
Big time. Big time. All right, well
They've been passed.
let's go have a look at this draft. Let me hit this
All right.
button, and then I need to hit over here and share this with you, which is. All right, so as we come over here to look at the draft, what you guys have done, and just as a recap for the viewers who maybe hopefully have seen the first video, but if not, they're going to be seeing the same visual again, just with different audio. You guys started off, you open all your packs, you pull out the leaders and the bases, and then you kind of see the pile of bases there in the background. And then you guys have been told to take your leaders and stack them in such a way that the one that you want is on the bottom of the stack. You know what it is, and then keep your hand over the rest, and then you're going to pass those cards to the player on your right. So you opened your 3 packs, and your 3 leaders that you saw were what? Do you remember?
I believe I opened 2 Kit Fistos and a
Okay.
Grand Inquisitor.
Okay.
I think Grand Inquisitor was the third one. I don't remember specifically, but I think it might have been like a third sister.
Okay,
But,
so I do remember. I mean, obviously, your first pick
We
here
might see.
is your boy, right? Because
oh yeah.
but we were Ian and I were talking about this. Like, we knew you had played Kit Fisto in the field to get here, and we saw this card, and we're like, oh well, all right, we're just going right back to that well again. I suppose it works, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I thought Kit Fisto really performed very well in testing.
Okay.
I was not unhappy to see him as a choice. I opened a regular in the hyperspace. I took the hyperspace.
Yeah.
You
So
gotta.
your player on your left then hands you an Avar Chris and a third sister, and this seems like a pretty quick and easy pick for you.
Yeah, I don't think Avar Chris is good in limited at all. It's too slow. Even if you use the force maybe twice in a turn, she still deploys on 7. And
Yeah,
that's
it's
just too
rough.
late to be doing anything
Yeah.
in this format, which I think is really aggressively slanted for, aggro tempo type lists.
Okay. So you drafted a third sister, and then you inherited a Grand Inquisitor. So with your leader pool now fixed, you know what you would like to play. I'm assuming you're going into this going, okay, Kid is what I want to play, right? The question is, how do I pull cards for him? If you don't see those cards, I'm assuming that third sister is your backup here.
That is correct. So I don't think Grand Inquisitor is all that good either. He's just not too much of an impact card on either side.
Right.
I think using the force to use his front side just cripples him. And his backside, he just isn't statted well enough, I think, to match with the competition. And also, coming in and shielded, Kit Fisto beats that. So
There you go. Fair
another
point.
example. Third sister, I think, is great because you can just use her every turn that you play a unit for free. And being a 5/4 hidden is very aggressive when she does deploy on 5.
Right. Okay. All right.
So that is my backup. I do feel, by the way, going into this, that Kit Fisto is not going to be hate drafted out. Most of the good, heroic leaders in the set, it's Obi-Wan is the main one.
Yeah.
People play Ahsoka. But other than that, I feel pretty good going into this that there will be an open lane for Kit.
Now, I want to talk one more briefly about something else that you mentioned earlier. You talked about thinking through or playing the leaders of the drafters on either side of you. We can see in the camera, the person across from you has sitting on a Grand Inquisitor, a Kylo Ren, and an Ahsoka.
Yep.
The player on your right, you passed them a Kit Fisto and what did you say?
Avar
Probably
Chris.
and a Grand Inquisitor in your first, and then they inherited
I think
that Avar that you didn't pick. So do you remember that third leader on your right?
Ah, gosh. I mean, I could look at the top 8 actually.
It's not important. I'm
I'm
more curious to find out as we go through how much of an impact that's actually playing on the picks that you're making, or how focused you are on just, I need to come up with the best card pool that I can for what's in front of me.
Right. I mean, if I recall correctly, I don't remember if they picked Kit Fisto or the third leader out of my first pack.
Okay.
I know going into this top 8 that most of them have underrated Kit Fisto.
Yes.
So they're not likely, even if they take him, out of the 2 cards to play him. I think the third leader that I passed them, or the one that they opened, was a good villainy leader. It might have been a Talzin.
Okay. Which
something
makes
like
sense.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm pretty confident they're going to be drafting Villainy. I'm pretty confident that the player on my left that you can see is either going to be drafting Villainy to go Grand Inquisitor or Kylo, or if they're drafting for Ahsoka, that hey, maybe I just stay out of blue.
Okay. One more thing before we get too deep into the packs. I want to mention this. We
Mhm.
saw several decks. I didn't get everybody's deck lists in this draft, but I know you played Kit. I know there was at least one Talzin in the field. I know there was at least one Snoke in the field, and we saw at least one Ahsoka. The one leader that I don't think anybody in this pod ended up playing or even ended up pulling was Obi-Wan. Did you see an Obi-Wan?
Yes,
Okay, there
there
was
was
one.
one player. There was one
Okay.
player who drafted two Obi-Wans to hate it
Oh.
out of the leader selection.
Okay.
He took a Obi-Wan from his first leader selection. He took it from his second leader
Oh,
selection, so
wow.
he would not pass it. So he
Wow.
was the only Obi-Wan player in the top 8,
In the
and I
field.
believe he lost his in the field, and he lost his quarterfinal match.
Okay.
So
Okay. That was the one that we didn't cover then because we covered. I mean, that's who Ben beat then because Ben played his Talzin match. Must have been into that Obi-Wan player because we covered the other quarterfinal match, which was Ahsoka versus
those would be the
Talzin, I think.
semifinals.
Okay, you're right. My apologies.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
a round off.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so he didn't get out of the
Yeah.
top 8. Okay, got it. Okay.
Yes, yeah, he top 8'd, and yeah.
All right. I have to mention this card, okay? First, I have to mention this. You turn
Yeah.
this pack over, and the very first card is a foil Darth Maul's lightsaber.
It sure is.
This card ends up in Ben's deck, and I don't know how many games he wins with this card, but it's crazy how good this card ends up being in his deck. I just have to point that out because it was nuts when I saw it later.
You are absolutely right. I didn't have this card rated as highly in my tier list and all that, mainly because you can only open it if it's a foil card in your
Correct.
pack.
You're very unlikely to see it.
You are incredibly unlikely to see it. In fact, the ability to play it with Darth Maul is nigh impossible.
Basically
because you'd have to open a showcase Darth Maul,
Right.
which someone at the event did and did not play him. Which
There
is
was a
kinda
showcase
sad.
in the field. Nice.
There was one showcase Maul in the field, and I believe that player did not play Maul. So,
Okay.
kind
All
of
right.
sad.
So look at your first pack here. I mean,
Yep.
you've got a couple of options. You've got this Jedi in hiding, which I think is where
Yep.
you end up landing.
I do end up landing there.
Right. Because if you want to play Kit, I mean, you need Jedi, so that's an easy call.
I do need Jedi. I lean towards Jedi in hiding over Joe Costa Nu, just because if I really do have to, desperation go third sister, Jedi in hiding is still a good card there. The fact that it's hidden is also quite
Beneficial.
relevant in this set,
Right.
so that he'll stick around and be a Jedi to attack to trigger Kit Fisto. The Force stuff on when defeated is also relevant because Kit Fisto as a deck doesn't use the Force all that much, which I think is kind of a benefit as well because you get to play some cards that need you to use the Force kind of freely.
All right. Now, some other things in this pack, right? Do you at this moment, you don't know what you're going to draft other than you're trying to draft for Hero Red. You want Kit Fisto.
Yep.
Were you tempted by this Heirloom Lightsaber? Because that is an amazingly good card.
I was a little bit tempted by the Heirloom Lightsaber. It is really good. It's really good on Kit. So is Yoda's lightsaber. However, what I'm really trying to get more than anything else is Jedi
units.
particularly low-cost Jedi.
Low-cost Jedi units.
Youngling Padawan, perfect in that
Solid.
respect.
Solid.
And Cunning Heroism is not played all that much, and I didn't think it would be drafted.
It's not, and you're not wrong. It's not drafted a lot. We've talked a lot about this on our podcast. I do with my buddies who helped me, set up and tear down the event and cast everything. I'm gonna pause this real quick so we can finish this thought. The Cunning Hero card pool is a little awkward because Qui-Gon is a legendary. His saber and I think his saber and his ship are starter cards, so you won't. You're very unlikely to see them in this format. But then you've got cards like Jedi Sentinel and the Youngling Padawan and Vernestra Rowe, if she's a rare, but you might see her. And generally people avoid that aspect pairing. And when we saw you pick up that Youngling Padawan, we were like, "Oh, is this how he's going?" Did you make that decision then, or was it just like this is the best card and I might start leaning this way?
A combo of both.
Okay.
Once I drafted it, I had a pretty good feeling that would be a lane that would be open that I could go into.
Okay.
You are absolutely correct that Cunning is kind of a weak color in this format. I think it's stronger in heroic than it is for villainy.
Yes, I
Villainy,
agree.
Shin Hati is good. Balin Skull can be fine. Add Up to Vanger is okay. The Corrupted Saber is pretty good. Aura Sing is all right. But after that, you've just got like the Nile cards, things that have raid,
Yeah.
which aren't super good in this set
Yeah.
unless you can really support it.
Yeah.
But I think Heroism Cunning is really good. You mentioned Jedi Sentinel. You mentioned Youngling Padawan. Depa Balaba is
Depa's
also
amazing.
a house. She's
Yeah,
amazing. That
she's
would
so
be the
good.
top end that I was praying for in this draft. But other cards, J-Type Nubian is also good. Stinger Mantis is good.
Yep.
The N1 is also good. And a lot of the just mono cunning cards are also good. And I end up picking a couple of them. I don't know if I ever got the chance to play them, sadly, but I think it is, there's some hidden gems in cunning.
You end up taking the J-type Nubian there instead of the Sorcerers of Tund. Was that just because it was the Heroism yellow and you figured? I was kind of some of these picks. I was surprised you let the neutral yellow card go rather than the cunning hero one, right?
Sure,
which is more likely
sure.
to come back around, I would think.
I mean, you are right, but on the other hand, I think cunning cards will just come back around anyway,
That's
just
a fair
because it's underdrafted, and I'd rather take the card that I'm more happy playing. And J-Type Nubian is always good. Sorcerers of Tund, I almost never actually play when it's in my deck. It gets pretty late in the game, which I know it's only 6 cost. Only 6 cost. But I actually kind of underrate bombs in this format because the best decks are very aggro, very tempo, that kind of thing.
I remember we saw this knight come up. I was like, well, I think I know what he's going to pick here. Like, that's an easy one.
Yeah, that is a windmill slam. You take Jedi Knight. Even if you play it and you don't have the initiative, you feel fine.
It's a 3/3 Jedi. You're fine. You're in great shape.
That's why I'm playing Jedi and hiding,
Yeah.
So I'm happy taking Jedi Knight. And every once in a while, you're going to just pick off some unit with Jedi Knight and feel like $1 million.
Now, you've got, as we look through this pack, you've got a couple of possibilities, right? You've got the Shin Flurry, you've got that Focus Determines Reality, and then there's the Ascension Cable. Now, we talk, and we're going to have, I think Ian and I had this conversation at a different pack, but I want to have it here real briefly. You mentioned Kit Fisto being Saboteur so that the Ascension Cable is maybe a little less valuable, but the ability to give Saboteur to one of your other non-leader units maybe a little underrated, perhaps? I mean, I don't think you ever drafted one of these. I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah, so I'm not as huge. So let me retract the statement I was about to make.
Okay.
Upgrades are very good in this set.
Yes.
I don't think they're quite as good in a Kit Fisto list because you're wanting to play a bunch of units, go a little bit wide, not necessarily suit things up. If you want to suit up anything in a Kit Fisto list, it's Kit Fisto.
It's Kit. Yeah, I agree with you there. Okay.
And Ascension Cable doesn't really do much for Kit except
Fair
make him,
point.
He could be a 2/9, something like that. Yay, but the
he's
Saboteur
really hard
doesn't.
to kill.
Yeah, exactly. The Saboteur doesn't do a whole lot. I'd much rather take a Shien Flurry because, playing that with a Jedi Knight or something, very nice.
Yeah, no, the Shin Flurry pick, I didn't have any issue with it. I was like, that's a great card, especially with all the stuff you're trying to do. And then, of course, I love Last Words in this format. When you picked that, I kind of fist pumped. Like, I'm glad more people are discovering that card because I think it's really good.
Yeah, you can play it in any deck. It's almost every game it's going to have some opportunity to be good. If it's not, then you resource it. That's just the nature of the game. But being able to put the experience counters, let's say on Kit Fisto, is really good. And if you really know what you're doing, you're going to be able to trigger it enable it in a way that is most beneficial for you. Trading off 2 units and then making one souped up. So I'm also, I don't think it's the best card in the set, but it's quite underrated.
All right, you have 2 possibilities in this pack in your hand, right? That Will of the Force, which is where you land, but also the Mind Trick. Talk to me about why that's your second Will of the Force in this go around the table, which is, I get it, it's not a bad card. Not a lot of love for Mind Trick. Don't really care for it.
No, I just don't think Mind Trick does anything significant.
Okay.
I've never seen it played even against me where I thought it did anything of real value. Will of the Force, I think, is actually underrated. A lot of people say it's a little bit of an up-costed waylay. In limited, that's pretty good. And with the amount of upgrades that people run in this set, It's very good. And the ability to just use the Force, which in a Kit Fisto deck is free, because you're not using the Force all that much.
Pretty much, yeah.
You're always taking something from their hand.
Yep. Yep. I liked the pick
Lothcat
at the
is-
time. I was more curious if you had the same low opinion of Mind Trick that I did. So that was why I asked the question.
Oh yeah, I don't think I would ever play Mind Trick. I'm really happy to get a Lothcat. I think that card is just a house.
Those, man,
Pounce is fine.
I can't count the number of times we saw Lothcats do work in this event, right?
They always do.
Just people surprised and ultimately at what they are able to do. And then, of course, at the end, you even get handed a BD1, which, while maybe not the best card in the world, at least lines up with what you're drafting. So even your Dreg card out of this pack is playable.
BD1, another sleeper saboteur, I suppose, that we forgot to mention earlier.
I hadn't even thought about that. That's actually a good point.
It gives something saboteur.
Yeah.
It is hidden, so they can't just remove it immediately. So the other unit, unless they kill that, is going to keep saboteur. I don't think it's an amazing card. It is definitely playable, and I would definitely put it in my deck if I ran out of playables, but I end up getting a lot in this draft, and so it doesn't quite make the cut, but I do think it is a solid card.
All right, so before we go into pack 2, I want to kind of briefly talk about overall strategy. At this point, it feels like, I mean, obviously, since the Youngling Padawan pick, which is like your third pick or something, your second pick, whatever it is, you seem to be just like, yep, we're going yellow, because it just feels like nobody else is going to bother. So that seems to be the play.
Right.
Okay, and then you don't see anything along the way, or at least nothing that really makes you kind of question that decision.
No, I think I didn't see anything that really spoke to me as another aspect is open to pair with Kit.
Okay.
Nothing that would make me overwrite the cards that I had already taken.
Right.
Because, like I said, it's really hard to just... Once you're this deep, it's basically impossible to switch lanes. Unless you are just playing cards well out of aspect or, just as resources. I think this late, you have to have a lane picked.
I agree. One of the things that I've noticed about drafting Unlimited is it feels like if you don't, I'm going to pause real quick so we can talk about the pack. But if you have to pick your kind of companion color, usually within the first 4 cards of the first pack, like almost certainly.
I think that's probably a fair estimate. Yeah. Unless you get really lucky. Yeah. And like I just picked, lucky. 4 aggression cards for Kit really quickly.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a fair assessment. I think especially in this format, where most of the leaders that are being played are good colors.
Yes.
I think the exception may be Cal Kestis, right?
Right.
With Cunning being weak, Grand Inquisitor isn't super playable, and there's really no other Cunning leaders worthy. I mean, like Barisafi.
You say Baris and. All right, so let's start this off. So we're headed into pack 2 here.
Mm-hmm.
Your rare's no big help, right? The Eye of Sion, you're like, F with that. Sacy
if you're in those colors, it's fine.
So
Sacy Tin is,
You've got 3 kind of good options here, right? You've got Sacy Tin, you've got the Cartel Interceptor, and that Charging Filiac is okay. But you're probably, I mean, Sacy Tin's a Jedi. Like, to me, this is an obvious pick for you.
I agree. Sacy Tin's a Jedi. He's not the most exciting card, but he is a Jedi, and that helps. It always helps having a Jedi in Kit Fisto. The when played can do some work sometimes. 1 damage to each of up to 3 units can finish things off, especially the 3 health units they've already hit with Kit Fisto. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, I mean, in an ideal scenario, he's a 3 for 1 or 4 because he leaves himself behind. But even if he picks off 1 unit and just damages 2 others, he's still fine and playable as a 4/6.
Yep. What do we got here? Okay. Oh, Zuckuss, everyone's favorite. Do or do not.
Zuckuss.
Ascension Cable.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I think if I were to go back and listen to our commentary on this pack, I think this is the pack that I would have chosen the Ascension Cable. And I realize you said that you were like, it's not really all that amazing for Kit. Like, but it could be useful for somebody else. And because you've kind of got 3 sort of mediocre options here, right? The Ascension Cable, the Gungan Warrior's not bad, and then do or do not.
Yeah, so I think looking at these 3 cards in particular, Ascension Cable is good in a lot of decks. Kit Fisto is pretty resource greedy because you have to use the 1 resource to activate him. So you don't have a lot of time to be putting upgrades on your units.
Okay.
You just want to be playing Jedi, attacking, using Kit Fisto's trigger, playing another Jedi, that kind of thing. Gungan Warrior isn't a Jedi, but being a 3/2 shielded with Restore 1,
Restore, yeah.
all of that is relevant.
All of that
3
is good.
power, relevant. Shielded, very relevant. Restore 1, very relevant. Do or do not is a thing that I expect to find in other
This
odes,
pack
so.
has nothing for you in it, basically.
Yeah. Some people would look at Gifted Urchin.
I think that was the one that I
front here.
I think that's the one I keyed onto when we were looking over your shoulder here, and you went with the Ataru Onslaught.
Yeah, the thing with Gifted Urchin, it is really good in decks that want to use the Force. Kit Fisto does not.
Kit Fisto doesn't
And
care.
So
It's just like,
yeah, playing a Gifted Urchin, I'm just playing a 1/4 for 2. And, that's what I'd like to avoid because I want to have really good 2-drops. Ataru Onslaught isn't the best card, but it has uses, especially if Kit Fisto is,
if you can get him up
3 or
to
4 power.
Yeah, 3 or 4 power, then you can get double use out of him.
Yep. It can ready a Lifewind Sage, which I'm looking at here.
Yep.
Lifewind Sage is okay. It's not the best card. There's also Hunting Nexu. I don't think that's necessarily the best card either, especially because I've been picking mainly Cunning.
I remember at the time, I kind of keyed onto the Nexu. I've always liked that card, but I think the Lifewind Sage for me is the better pick out of that pack, kind of looking at it longer, because the 5 health means it's just that much harder to get off the board. It's more work for your opponent to get rid of it.
Yep, exactly. And you really want to be gumming up the board in this format, and just having units that stick around and kill their units. Here I see another Lothcat, but I see a Jedi Sentinel.
Oh, yeah, the Sentinel, yeah.
It's very shiny, Curious Flock.
Curious Flock.
I was never considering taking it, but I just wanted to show it off for the camera.
Not with the Sentinel in the pack. You're never going to take that card.
Jedi Sentinel is such an amazing card, especially in Kit when you don't use the Force a lot.
You don't really use the Force token.
This will basically have Sentinel all the time. Even if you have to attack with it to get the Sentinel, you're absolutely fine with that. It's a Jedi, 5/4 Sentinel, just eats 1 or 2 units that they throw into it.
Yep. Phrynox in the right color, but you're like, nah.
It's a pretty bad card in general.
Yeah.
Refugee of the Path. Again, if I was playing Ahsoka, I'd like it.
Yeah, so again, this entire pack is kind of just not very good for you. This second round is very in general, like full of cards that you're just like very bleh on, right? Like most of the stuff that comes across the table here is just like kind of bad for you.
Jedi Sentinel has been great. That's about it. Everything else,
this in one is not bad. I mean, it's a good card for your color combo, but it's not the quote unquote the optimal card, right?
I would agree. I think it's probably around on par with Medical Frigate. Those are the 2 choices I was going to make. I think when you're between 2 things, take the lower cost.
Take the cheaper one.
Take the cheaper one. And always having a turn 1 play is huge in this format. Here I see a Jedi Starfighter.
Second Jedi Starfighter. And a Kit Fisto
is probably the first one.
Oh, no, you drafted one in the first pack, too.
There was one in the first pack?
There is, yeah. This is your second one, and
I did end up with 2.
You did end up with 2, and I remember this because I remember thinking, and I don't think I said it, but I remember thinking, you're like probably the only person at the table who's going to draft that card, because it's really good for you, and it's kind of bad for everybody else.
Exactly. It's amazing for me, not good for anyone else.
I want to talk through this one, because you're about to make a really weird choice, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember this pack?
I do remember this pack.
Okay.
And I'll tell you the same thing that I'm thinking right now. I'm never going to play Porg. I'm never going to play Tip the Scale. Grappling Guardian might be played against me, and it might kill a space unit.
And you're like, nah, I don't want to deal with that.
That's the only hate draft I've made in the entire thing.
Okay.
I'm much more scared of that than the 3/6 or whatever it is, the 3/7 raid 3. So yeah. There I take a do or do not.
Yep.
Again, you don't use the Force a lot, and Kit Fisto, you want to play a lot of low-cost cards, so refilling your hand, pretty good.
Not bad. No, that's actually a nice synergy that I wouldn't have thought of. I remember you taking this thing and just with the shrug, like, whatever.
If I really get screwed, then that's a thing that I can play. But you don't want to play just a 5-power, 7-cost space unit.
Now, you took the Nexu there. Did you even consider the Focus Determines Reality?
I don't think Focus Determines Reality is really that much of a card, just in general. I've never had a situation where I have held that in my hand and thought, this is great. It doesn't do all that much. Giving everything Sab is okay. Raid 1.
The Sab is, again, as the Sab is more impactful, right? I've seen that card in sealed win games, because people are like, oh, I only have 2 Jedi units or what, 2 Force units. Well, guess what? Now they're both saboteurs, and I'm spitting in the face of your chariot while I smash your base off the board. Like, I've seen that happen.
Yeah. The other thing with Focus Determines Reality is it only works on Force units, and Kit Fisto doesn't necessarily need to be taking Force units. You want like Space Jedi and stuff like that.
Okay, no, that's actually a fair point. That's actually a fair point.
So it's very rarely going to be for your entire board, especially if I'm playing things like Lothcat. Even if BD1 makes the list, Gungan Warrior, it doesn't work on those. It'll work on Kit always, but he doesn't need Sab.
I want to talk through something else real briefly. This is a I don't want to say a quirk. Part of the formal rules of competitive draft in Star Wars Unlimited is at the end of each pack. Well, at the end of the pack 1 and pack 2, you have 30 seconds to review all of your cards to kind of refamiliarize yourself with what you've gotten and what you're doing. When you're going through this part of the process, what is it you're double checking to refresh in your memory?
Yeah, so at this point, I know my lane, obviously. I'm drafting
100%.
Cunning, Aggression, Heroism for Kit Fisto, trying to get a bunch of Jedi. At this point, I am just looking at the curve that I've drafted so far, making sure that I've picked 2 drops, 3 drops, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Doing a very rough estimate of how many Jedi I've got. Just making sure I'm on track, and going into pack 3, if I'm between 2 cards, just having an idea of what holes I need to fill, so to speak. If I need lower cost cards, more mid-range, that kind of thing.
Right. Did you, in the overall draft experience, and I'll just hit this while we're here thinking about it, did you find the timed draft to be intimidating, difficult? What were your thoughts on that, right? The having a fixed amount of time per card.
So I've done competitive drafts in like Magic before.
Okay.
Where it's timed, you only have so many seconds to do each pick. So I wasn't super stressed out by that or anxious or pressed for time. There was like maybe 1 or 2 packs where I was like the last person to pick, but you'd want to take as much time as you can if you're between picks and just knowing what's in a pack. But largely, I did a lot of practice coming into this. That always helps, and I highly recommend that. So you get an easier, more instinctual feel of what cards are good or not.
Okay. This pack, again, not amazing for you. Yet another rare you can't do anything with. You've got the Sataru Onslaught.
The sun is fine, not for me.
I would say as soon as we saw the Padawan, we knew what you were going away with, right?
Yep, Youngling Padawan, a 2-drop Jedi. You can't ask for more with a Kit Fisto deck.
Yep.
The fact that it gives you the Force, this is probably the one leader that doesn't care.
He doesn't really. He doesn't really need it. Yeah.
Exactly. Much more relevant if you're playing like Obi-Wan Kenobi yellow, even Cal Kestis. It's kind of nice, but
it's really a good card in Cal. Yeah.
Yeah. But for Kit Fisto,
Kit's
it's
like
a 2/3 Jedi for 2.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
All that matters. Here,
I couldn't believe the villain cards we saw in this pool, man.
It was kind of crazy.
Oh,
I think that's kind of what shifted the win where it did, in my opinion.
I agree.
Deathfield is an insane card. I consider even running it off aspect for a second here.
So you're literally thinking about grabbing this.
I considered it for a bit.
Okay.
I don't think it would have been the right play because I don't pick it. Playing it on 6, doing 2 to the board isn't super impactful.
Right.
Playing it on 4 is insane.
Is crazy. Well, and so your buddy Ben really gets some good use out of it later.
I'm shocked it makes it all the way to Ben on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
I think that's a testament to he picked the right lane. I think coming into this, I said Kit Fisto was one of the best leaders. Mother Talzin is also an amazing leader, especially compared with Red, which is what he got.
Ian and I just about lost our minds with this. This is the pack, right? Like
I did too.
There's like 6 cards in here that you really want, right? There's the Saber, there's a Kiadi, there's a Rey. The Grogu is not bad. He's not a Jedi, but like you have the Jedi in Hiding is an okay pick, but like you have at least 4 or 5 really good cards in here. You can
see me pull all the playable cards to the front. It's half the pack.
So I want to spend some time here. You end up going with the Grogu, vice one of the several Jedi in the pack. Why the Grogu rather than say even like the Rey or the Ki-Adi-Mundi?
So I don't think there was a world where I was going to take Rey here. The times where you draw her, you're going to need to draw her off of Do or Do Not or Ki-Adi-Mundi.
Yeah, it's not
Otherwise, she's a 5/5 Jedi for 5, which I'd always take Ki-Adi-Mundi over that.
Okay.
I'd always take Jedi in Hiding over that, just because they're on the same rate, 4, 4 for 4, 3, 3
Right.
for 3,
And they're
but
cheaper.
they're cheaper.
They're cheaper. Okay.
They're cheaper, which is always better for kit because you want to be able to attack with them and use the kit ability. And you can only really do that early. So the higher cost of Jedi, the worse.
Okay.
Grogu is not a Jedi. It is a Force unit. The reason I take Grogu here, honestly, I probably would have taken Ki-Adi-Mundi looking back at this pack. I don't know if it's necessarily a mistake that I take Grogu, but I mean, look at him. He's in foil. He's so cute. And it is a really strong card. Don't get me wrong.
It is.
It's maybe not the most synergistic with Kit Fisto, but the ability to move around damage, especially from your units to their units, is really underrated. It is a little bit slow for how I'm trying to build Kit Fisto, but come on. It's Grogu. It's a legendary. It's foil. Why not?
I'm not arguing any of the logic. I just and I'll say this: if you guys, for the viewers, if you haven't seen the match that Mark's going to play with this deck in a little bit, and that'll post to the channel shortly, you get good value out of this Grogu in at least one of those games. He comes up early enough in the game, and you're able to manipulate the board with him a little bit, and it definitely changes the math on how your opponent has to approach certain things because of how you can push damage around.
Yeah, the best upside to Grogu is that it's a very tricky card that really puts you in an advantageous position where you can do the math and your opponent can't because they don't know necessarily what you're going to do. You can kind of put them in an impossible situation. Speaking of which, I'm looking at impossible escape
I was
here.
just fixing to make that segue. Well done, sir. Well done. So speaking of impossible, all right, this is probably one of the few picks that I just rolled my eyes at. Like, what is he thinking? So I really want to talk about this one. You've got this pack, again, not very good for where you're at, or the lane you're in. But you do have a Sorcerers of Tund, and you do have an Impossible Escape. You've got the It's Worse pulled forward. Like, maybe. So you're obviously considering some options here.
Yes.
I'm with you. Like, I don't think Sorcerers of Tund is an amazing card, okay? But Ian and I commented several times, you don't really have a lot of top-end units. Usually, and you really... Generally, in these sealed and limited environments, you look for, I'm going to say, maybe 3 to 5 units in the 6+ cost range to kind of help you finish out a game, close out a game. Sorcerers of Tund would have been a really good pick for you, but you deliberately went into this draft not wanting to go that high. Apparently, is what you were saying earlier in the event in the video.
Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons why. I am a little bit lower, especially in this format, on those kind of high-cost bombs. Especially for Kit Fisto, like I said, he's resource greedy. A lot of the times, even by this point, they'll have already killed Kit. He'll be on his leader side again, and you're looking to use the damage again, right? Which is a really good aspect of Kit Fisto, that you like him on both sides. By the time you get to 6 or 7 resources in this format, in my opinion, the game is mostly... not necessarily over, but decided. Or at least very heavily in someone's favor.
Right.
At that point, you need a bomb to close out the game if you want to play it. I don't think Sorcerers of Tund is that. It'll be bounce or die to a lot of removal, and they can just throw units into it. Okay. A Blue Squadron Assault Wing, Longbeam Cruiser, the space units, those are much better and much more what I'm looking for.
Okay.
It's worse. I'm always a fan of having one in the deck, but Impossible Escape, I cannot speak highly enough of this card.
Really?
I think it is an insane pick. So you have 2 choices of how to use it. You can either exhaust a friendly unit, or you can use the Force. We've already talked already. Kit Fisto always has the Force.
Yeah.
Because you just never use it. So assume it's free. Even in the off chance that you have to exhaust a unit, you just exhaust your worst unit that you weren't going to get a lot of value off of anyway. Then you exhaust their most pressing unit. If they've suited up a Kylo Ren, or if they put a Darth Maul's lightsaber on a Jedi in hiding, for instance, and it's threatening 7 damage to your base, you exhaust that, which is almost like buying you an entire extra turn.
Buy you an entire whole turn, yeah.
And it replaces itself.
Right,
it draws you a card on top of that.
Yeah.
So not only is it buying you time, exhausting their units, maybe preventing them from killing your units, so you get value going into base or something like that, but you're also drawing a card for your trouble of 1 resource. And it's really easy to set up.
Okay. A few things in here that are decent. The Hermit, the Nexu, The Gundark is not a bad card. I think it gets a little bit of a bad rap. It's not an amazing card, but it certainly isn't a bad one.
I'd give it like a C, maybe a high D or something like that. Every once in a while, it'll pick off a unit, but at 5, it's not the best. I end up taking Yoda's lightsaber.
I really liked that pick, and we're going to come back and talk about that towards the end because I want to revisit the thought process there when you go to your deck building.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, this is such an easy pick. When you see that, when you flip
over, really is.
Okay, I say easy pick,
except it's not.
Except it's not.
Yeah. It really is. Once I see Jedi Sentinel, I have a feeling I'm going to take it. Then I see Jedi Vector, and I'm in doubt. This is a very even pick, which is why I do this.
Yeah.
So what I did there is the old, if you're deciding between two things, flip a coin. If you're unhappy with the result, just do the other thing.
Just do the other thing.
So I randomly got Jedi Sentinel. I thought, I like a second Jedi Sentinel here, and so I take it. Now, Jedi Vector as another 2-drop would have been really good too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty even. I'm not necessarily unhappy with my pick. Maybe Jedi Vector would have worked out better.
Okay. Another Gungan Warrior there. We've talked about that card, and I certainly saw plenty of people over the course of the day get good value out of that guy because he's shielded with Restore. That's never not going to be useful.
Yeah, it's almost always going to be doing 6 damage.
Yeah.
Another Jedi Sentinel. I think 3 is probably the limit.
Well, you end up with 3. And again, I said this on stream at the time, I had drafted a few weeks ago, I drafted Ahsoka into hero. So Ahsoka Cunning, right, is where I landed. Mm-hmm. And I had 3 Jedi Sentinels in that draft pool as well in my Ahsoka deck. Yeah. It was ridiculously fun.
It is so good. Being able to, you killed my Jedi Sentinel, here's another one, deal with that one now. Super strong, very good play. Here, Ataru Onslaught was the only playable card in the pack.
You grab the Ataru rather than the Unleashed Rage. You talk about looking for ways to use that Force token. I'm a little surprised the Unleashed Rage didn't maybe grab your attention there.
Yeah, Unleashed Rage. I mean, adding 3 power to a thing can be relevant. Maybe I'm a little bit lower on it than I should be, especially in a kit deck. I just think Ataru Onslaught, being able to ready your kit and get an entire second attack out of it, it's pretty nice.
Pretty solid. Every card in this pack is trash for you.
Yeah. I end up taking Acolyte of the Beyond just because I think that's the best card in the pack, and I would rather people don't play it against me.
There you go.
Yeah, another 2-drop that gives you the Force. Critical in this.
Don't spend very long to grab a Life Wind Sage there.
Nope, I think the other 2-drop was like a Tip the Scales or something like that. Not happy with it.
Get down to the dregs here.
Yep.
You do end up with the Sorcerers of Tund here, I think, just kind of by default, because the Caretaker Matron is not particularly amazing.
Matron, I would try to never play. In any deck ever. Getting a Mysterious Hermit is fine.
Yeah.
Lightsaber Throw also unplayable.
Pretty much, yeah. And then, oh goodness, a 4 speed. How amazing.
Yay. Also never playing that. So. With the Sorcerers of Tund, I always feel like if you get down to the dregs and you're getting playable cards, you've drafted well, just because you're in an open lane. I wasn't actually surprised to see Sorcerers of Tund come back with, 3 cards left in the pack. Very happy to pick it up. It does make the deck in the end.
Yep.
I think it's fine running one of them in a Kit Fisto deck like this. Running 1 or 2 6-drops, a couple of 5s, that kind of thing. But really, the way I'm trying to build this deck, especially when I go into deck building, is going as wide as possible, trying to maximize the use of Kit Fisto's leader ability.
Yeah.
And then all of my resources, essentially.
All right, so now that the draft is done, let's kind of do a brief recap, right? This is my little scorecard cheat page that I built, so we could always, at the end, we could say, okay, here's the pool that you drafted.
I like it.
I mean, I can't really argue with any of these picks. The one kind of thing that I think surprised me a little bit as you were building your deck, and we talked a little bit about this on stream at the time, you do eventually cut that Yoda's lightsaber out. And I remember being very surprised by that. Talk me through that decision.
It was honestly probably a mistake to cut that card. I probably should have played it, even off aspect. I just have like a kind of aversion to playing off aspect cards if I can avoid it. Especially, playing it on 4, it's still a good card, but with how resource greedy that kit can be, you probably don't like it all that much. I think it was probably between that and psychometry for me,
Okay.
honestly, which did end up making the deck. Another card that maybe a lot of people look at it and just say it's a 1 mana kind of draw card,
Mm-hmm.
at best. But I really like that card. I played in Constructed actually,
Mm-hmm.
for Premiere. And in an environment like this, I mean, you target any Jedi that's been defeated, and you can go get another Jedi. You
Yeah.
target any Force unit, you get another Force unit, or you get a Force event. You can get a do or do not. You can get a Will of the Force. You can get, if you have 2 psychometries, you can get that. You can get Impossible Escape. So it's kind of sneaky at how much it will hit in an average game.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the end, the deck you built, unfortunately, obviously, you did lose your spoiler alert, guys, if you haven't seen the video yet, because it hasn't posted yet. But you do end up losing your quarterfinal match to your buddy Ben. But I mean, you do take him to all 3 games, and it's not so these were not like blowout games or anything.
No.
And
one of them was close too.
Yes, it was very close. And
say.
so kind of looking back, I'm gonna bring us back over to this scene here, so we can chat kind of here for a few more minutes. Overall, just give me obviously you're pretty happy with the pool you drafted. Obviously you would have wished for a better result with the games, but I know I want to talk about again on a podcast with my buddies Trainee, and we have been absolutely merciless to the cunning aspect in this set. And I told Ian on the stream, I said, it's only fitting, it feels like, that we are sitting here watching a guy draft cunning after all of the crap we have given these cards. And yet it still worked very well for you. You didn't quite get there, but it wasn't like a bad deck.
No, I wouldn't say it was a bad deck at all. I think there were, I don't want to say I was unlucky, but I was unlucky.
A little bit.
Kind of how it was. I was unlucky. So the draft itself, I think I was in a good lane. I got a lot of cunning cards out of the decision to go into cunning. I got 3 Jedi Sentinels.
That's amazing.
Pretty dang good.
That's pretty amazing, kids.
Pretty dang good. I got 2 Youngling Padawans.
Yep.
I'm always happy with that. A J-type, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what I really wanted to see, Depa Balaba
Depa would have been so
insane.
good.
I would have loved more of the aggression heroism cards. I had to end up passing the Kiadi Mundi over Grogu. Would have loved a Kiadi Mundi.
Yeah.
Would have loved a Mace Windu. Would have loved any amount of Lightsabers.
Yeah.
Just shove 4 in the deck and I would have been happy. So a little disappointed I didn't quite get all those. I did get 2 Jedi Starfighters, but I'm the only one at the table who's going to be taking them.
You're probably the only player who's even interested in that card playing into Kid Fisto.
Exactly. Although someone took a Jedi Vector.
It's true. One of the things that we talked about over the course of the day doing the live stream was that when you come into one of these sealed events, and if you make it to the top 8 of the draft, there's absolutely skill involved. But just like at a constructed event, there is still a little bit of a luck element, right? Like you can have,
for sure.
you can have even in a constructed event, you can have the perfect deck built for the field you're up against, but you still have to draw the right cards at the right time, right? Even though they're in there, if they're not in your hand, they don't do you any good, right? And in a draft event or a sealed event like this, certainly with the draft pool, looking over those packs, those cards that are going by, man, the people playing villain it though, doesn't shock me at all that a villain deck won this PQ. Seeing that draft pool, it's crazy the stuff that was going around the table.
It doesn't shock me at all either. In fact, I think at the table there were only 3 heroism players, which is one off from half.
Yep.
Of the heroism leaders, only one of them made top 4, actually winning the quarterfinals, and they I think went to the finals.
Yeah, our Ahsoka player.
Ahsoka, and they ended up losing to
Ben.
So,
losing to Ben, losing to Tap Ben on Talzin. Yeah.
I think in general in this set, villainy is a little bit deeper. I think the card quality is kind of the same between the two, but maybe it's not necessarily deeper. It's the blue-black is insane.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Getting Karis or Talzin's assassin just means you win the game.
Look how many
times.
I don't know if you saw this a lot during your games, but we certainly saw this in the top 8, and we saw it over the course of the day playing through the rounds. People would just play Talzin's assassin if they were playing villain, it didn't matter. If it would happily pay 6 for that card. They're like,
I did see that.
I'm gonna pay 6 for a 4/4 that murders something when it comes onto the board. Okay.
Yep.
Like
it's a mini Anakin Skywalker.
it kind of
rate.
is. It's
like,
a little
why
mini
not,
nuke.
You know?
Yeah, they love that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is an insane card. Karis is one of the best 2-drop force units.
Yeah.
And of the 2-drop force units, which I think are really one of the keys to this limited set, the best ones are in blue. Night Sister Warrior draws you a card when defeated. Secretive Sage comes in with shielded.
Yaddle.
Yaddle is in heroism. Karis is in villainy. I'm forgetting the third one. That's Guardian of the Wills.
Guardian of the Wills.
It reduces upgrades. You can play Heirloom Lightsaber for 1
on turn
you can
on
play it,
turn 2 play. Yeah,
you can turn 1 play Guardian of the Wills and Bolstered Endurance for free.
That's true.
You have a 3/5 force unit. Turn 1. Good luck. You know?
Good luck. Have fun with that.
Exactly. So all of those cards are just great. So and red has really good ones too. It has Infused Brawler.
Adigalia.
It's got Acolyte of the Beyond. It's got Adigalia. So those I think are the 2 best colors in the set. Green is obviously good, but specifically for Snoke, I think you don't need the Force a lot.
You don't.
For Obi-Wan, you do, but then you get Gungi and you get Jedi Consular, which are insane cards. You get Tech in green.
Yes.
And Protect the Pod. You get so many good tempo control elements. Cunning does fall behind.
Yeah.
The reason why I think Cunning is a little bit better in draft than in sealed is because you're only working with so many cards. And if no one's picking Cunning, then you get the best Cunning cards. And if everyone's playing all the other colors, they're being cut inherently.
Yeah.
And if you look at the top 8, there were only 2 decks that played Cunning. At all.
And the player who drafted across from you, he ended up in blue, green, yellow, blue villain.
Yeah, he was Grand Inquisitor blue, I believe. So we ended up getting all of the best Cunning cards.
Yes.
I got the heroism ones.
He got all the villain ones. He had 2 Shin Hatis, 2 Balin Skulls.
Yeah.
He had 2 corrupted lightsabers. His pool was crazy good. Like he had really good cards in there.
They're really, really good cards. Now, they're not the best, compared to the same tier of cards in the other colors. Shin Hati is a 3-drop force unit that trades with a 2-drop force unit. So Balin Skull, his ability when you play him can sometimes do really good stuff, and sometimes he's just a 5/5.
Yeah.
So Corrupted Saber is a lightsaber. It's not the best lightsaber.
No.
That kind of thing. So in draft, I think yellow is a little bit bumped up a little bit just because you're going to expect to see more of those good cards because the overall impression of yellow is a little lower. So it's kind of like a meta call almost. I didn't play yellow and sealed, obviously, because I played blue. I got Yaddle. So
it's so difficult to play yellowed and sealed just because the unit pool is artificially smaller than all the other colors, right? So it's very difficult to do that unless the gap is generally made up in your villainy or your hero units, depending on which way you've decided to jump over there. Because those in this set there are more villain and hero cards than we're used to seeing in previous sets. But yellow, like neutral yellow, there are fewer units. It's kind of a mess. So it's a very oddly designed set.
It's very event heavy. And, I mean, going back to the 2-drop force units, yellow has Mysterious Hermit, which is a 1/4 ambush. And
you have Lothcat, which is a really
Lothcat's
good
great.
unit, but it's not what you want to have open your game with. You don't want to open the game with a Lothcat. Like you want that.
It doesn't count as a 2-drop.
He can't.
It doesn't count as a 2-drop.
It's like a 2-drop.
It's a 2-resource card that you pair with another one on turn 3.
Exactly.
Maybe turn 5.
You play it later.
You play it later when you need to help shut out the game. That kind of thing, or turn it back in your favor.
Yeah.
So I will say my buddy Ben throughout the Swiss rounds played Cal Kestis blue. So obviously that's playing yellow.
But again, he's taking.
He opened. Go ahead.
He's taking arguably the weakest color and pairing it with what was unquestionably the strongest color in the set.
Yes, and he also pulled insane legendaries.
Did he?
Got Anakin. He got Qui-Gon. So
he got Anakin and Qui-Gon in 6 packs.
Yeah, he got Anakin and Qui-Gon in 6 packs.
Oh, man, that's
out
nuts.
of his rares and legendaries, he played 5 of them.
Wow.
I played 1, and it was a foil one. So
Wow.
of all the regular rares and legendaries I opened, I didn't play any through the Swiss rounds.
I talked to somebody who opened 3 rare bases out of their 6 packs. Let me tell you how excited they were.
I felt bad. The player I was verifying for in the Swiss rounds was, a 12-year-old kid, very excited to be playing. He opened 2 or 3 rare bases, and I just felt so sorry for him.
Yeah.
Having to verify those down. I was, I was making sure with the way the event was being ran, that he wasn't looking at my pool accidentally, opening the packs, and I'm like, I don't want the rare bases.
I don't want that. You can keep that.
You can have them. You can have them. So,
all right. Well, let's wrap it up. Mark, listen, I really appreciate taking some time to go through this. I think it's really, really cool to have the ability to kind of ride shotgun with you in the draft, look over your shoulder and try to climb inside your brain, do it live, and then later on come back and have this review session with you. We got a lot of great comments over the course of the day from folks who were interested in the sealed format, really enjoyed watching it, were going to their own limited PQs. And then, of course, being able to kind of think through a draft process, I think is not everybody has done draft. Not everybody has thought through it or even put any kind of, like you talked about the prep work you've done. Not everybody has done that. I think it's really cool to kind of offer folks a little bit of perspective. And maybe it's not necessarily, I don't know how many more limited events there are for this set, but certainly there's we've got the big limited sector qualifier coming up in Philadelphia in a few weeks.
Yep.
And then of course we're going to be having far more limited events for the game going forward. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited that limited has come to competitive.
I am too. I am looking forward to Secrets of Power. I'm already drawing conclusions, and the set isn't fully spoiled yet. I'm thinking some mechanics are a lot better than others. Maybe that's a secret I'll keep for now.
Please do.
I'll keep that in.
Please do.
I'll keep that plotted in my resource pile until I
Outstanding.
go to a PQ.
Well, listen, let's hang it up, and hopefully we'll get to see you at the next limited PQ. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping they'll hold another one up at Common Ground, and we'll be up there to cast it sometime over the winter. So in the meantime, take care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll catch everybody later.
Thank you.